At my mother-in-law's birthday dinner in Rome, I stood at the edge of an elegantly set table, surrounded by family chatter and flickering candlelight, only to discover that there was no room for me. My husband, Jonathan, chuckled. "Oh, maybe we counted wrong," while his family held back their laughter as if it were an inside joke. I smiled steadfast despite the earthquake in my chest and said, "Looks like I'm not family," before turning and walking out. Not a single tear fell. Instead, I pulled out my phone, opened the event management app that built my career, and got to work. I had 30 minutes before they realized what I was doing. More than enough time. Let me take you back. My name is Olivia Sinclair. 5 years ago, I was simply Olivia, founder of Sinclair & Company, Boston's most elite event planning company. Every luxury soiree, perfect corporate retreat and society wedding carries my signature touch. I built my business from the ground up after attending business school, and I've earned every bit of my reputation through sweat, grace, and grit. That's how I met Jonathan Whitmore. At a charity gala I was planning for Boston Children's Hospital. He has the easy confidence that comes from never worrying about money. He approached me with admiring eyes and asked, "So you are the genius behind all this?" From there things escalated quickly. Before long, I was planning every major event for the Whitmores, Boston royalty with such established wealth that they didn't need to prove themselves. It's in the monogrammed linens, the exquisite china that has lasted for generations, and the way they go about life as if it were tailor-made for them. 6 months later, Jonathan and I started dating. A year later, he proposed. But from the beginning there were red flags. His mother, Beatrice, greeted me with a cold smile and backhanded compliments. "Self-made success is quintessentially American," she said at our first dinner together. "She considers me temporary, decorate, favorable." And I ignored it, blinded by love. A wedding is a big event. Of course I planned it myself. Who else could I trust? Beatrice critiques everything from the location to the menu. Jonathan plays the role of peacemaker, rarely contradicting her. After we got married, the sabotage became subtle but frequent. They use my services for lavish parties but treat my professional opinion as a hobby. My opinions were welcomed only to be dismissed. Jonathan never walked in and just said, "That's just the way she is." Then came Beatrice's 70th birthday. I put all my energy into planning a week-long celebration in Rome. I tapped into every connection I had to book the perfect venues, create exquisite menus, and arrange a dinner overlooking the Colosseum. But something is wrong. Payment was late. Jonathan brushed it off as a technical delay, but I saw the truth in forgotten bank statements and emails. The Whitmore's empire was collapsing. However, I remained professional. I even used the company's line of credit to stay on plan. Then one morning I saw a text from V pop up on Jonathan's phone. "Can't wait to see you in Rome. Have you told her yet?" It's his ex, Cassandra, and she's pregnant. For months past. I took a screenshot, sent it to myself, and wiped my phone. I don't confront him. I played along. And then in that restaurant when my chair went missing and Jonathan smirked, "Whoops!" It all came together. It wasn't a mistake. That was the beginning of their plan to humiliate me. But they underestimated me. They didn't know I had canceled the entire dinner venue, catering, flowers, and entertainment. As I walked, I felt the weight of 5 years being lifted. I didn't just leave the table. I'm getting my strength back. Because sometimes, all it takes is missing a chair to realize that you deserve your own damn desk. Marina Whitmore's smile never reached her eyes. I still remember that first dinner with the Logans, when she raised her glass of wine and said, "Solo success is so American," her voice full of condescension, her fingers brushing over me with the pity reserved for married people. I ignored it. I told myself that I was in love with a man outside his pedigree, one who didn't care about family trees or country club memberships. So when Logan proposed 11 months after our first date, I said yes, even though deep down, a small voice whispered that I would never truly belong. Weddings, of course, are the social event of the year. I did most of the planning myself. Trusting someone else to organize your own wedding is unimaginable. But Marina was restless. The venue isn't traditional enough. The menu is too bold. The guest list lacks key names from society. I made compromises where I could, standing my ground where it matters. Logan plays the role of a diplomat, but I noticed he never directly contradicts his mother. After the wedding, the sabotage shifted from subtle to systematic. Even though the Whitmores hired my company for every event, they continually questioned my choices, changed plans at the last minute, and took credit for my work. At family dinners, my specialty is a punchline disguised as politeness. "Rachel has a good eye for these things," Marina would chirp to her friends, patting my hand as if I were a pet. "It's like someone having a private party in the family." "Logan never protected me." "That's just who she is," he said. "Don't take it personally." But that's personal. And it gets worse over time. So when I was asked to plan Beatrice's 70th birthday celebration in Rome, a week-long itinerary culminating in dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant overlooking the Colosseum, I threw myself into work. I want this to be my masterpiece. But as I arranged each exquisite detail, I began to notice cracks in their carefully constructed image. Deposit was late. Vendors contacted about unpaid invoices. When I mentioned it to Logan, he brushed it off. "Accountants are only cautious about international transfers," he said. But then I saw the truth exposed on his open laptop. Investment loss. The property is mortgaged. Credit limit has reached maximum. Whitmore's fortunes were slowly fading. However, I kept going. I used my company's credit to float the deposits, convincing myself it was only temporary. When my birthday is over, I told myself he will explain everything. But then came the morning of our flight to Rome. Logan was taking a shower when his phone rang. I had never snooped before. I believe in privacy. But that morning something told me to look. Unmissable preview message from V. "Can't wait to see you in Rome. Have you told her yet?" My hands move without thinking. I opened the topic. Lillian Cross, his college girlfriend. The woman his family always liked. The woman I had been silently competing with for years. Their messages are intimate and detailed. They had been planning for months, discussing their future. Their children. She was 4 months pregnant. I took a screenshot. Email myself. Then delete the evidence from his phone. I didn't scream. I don't confront him. I packed my bags, smiled at the camera and boarded my flight to Rome. If the Whitmores want a stage, I'll give them a show they'll never forget. And as I stood outside that restaurant, hours after everything had come to light, I remained unmoved. I'm ready. The moment Beatrice Whitmore stepped off the plane in Rome and frowned at the shiny black Mercedes vans I had arranged, I knew exactly where I stood. I thought I asked for something more elegant, Whitmores. These seem generic, she sniffed, completely ignoring the effort I'd put into coordinating the perfect transportation for 12 high-maintenance family members. My explanation about the last-minute hotel bus change and why these were the trucks used to pick up visiting diplomats was met with silence. She had been conferring silently with her husband, Gregory, their heads bowed together like conspirators. As always, I was an outsider even in the world I had built for them. Hotel de Russie welcomed us with 5-star luxury. Champagne in the lounge, luxurious welcome baskets, impeccably appointed suites, none of it admits of. Beatrice threw her custom itinerary aside. "We'll have our way. The family knows Rome well," she said, putting to rest the months of planning I'd put into the week of her 70th birthday. That first night, I hosted a dinner at a charming Italian restaurant in Trastevere. But when I arrived, I noticed that the seats had been mysteriously rearranged. I was placed at the end of the table, out of earshot of my husband, Logan, and away from the family's laughter and inside jokes. As they reminisced about past family trips I had never taken, I tried to join in the conversation. But Sophie, Logan's sister, interrupted me with a polite smile. "Actually, Rachel, we're going shopping with the family tomorrow instead of touring the Vatican." "Shopping for the family?" I asked, my voice faltering. Beatrice gently interjected. "Oh, it's just a little tradition. You'll get bored, honey. You'd better spend some time checking the dinner arrangements. It's your gift, after all." Now their pattern of exclusion is unmistakable. Whispered conversations that stop when I approach, breakfast meetings to which I am not invited, and dinners where extra guests arrive but somehow there is never room for me. Logan left a message. "See you, Dad, come back later," but never said a word about the growing distance between us. I felt like I was slowly disappearing from the life I had helped build. On the third day, Logan left in a hurry and forgot to lock his briefcase. My heart was pounding when I opened it. Inside was a draft divorce petition from the Whitmore's family lawyer, dated 2 months ago. I wasn't just dismissed, I was erased. The documents include a proposed settlement that gives me much less than I am entitled to. But what disappointed me wasn't the offer. That's the script. A printed script. Careful lines for Logan to recite at Beatrice's birthday dinner. The lines that paint our divorce as a mutual and amicable decision are just one of those things. Here it is. My departure from the Whitmores, orchestrated and timed for maximum grace and minimum scandal. My hands shook as I took pictures of each page. My mind was racing, but I kept a calm expression as I quietly closed my briefcase and returned to the role they expected of me. Polish, graceful, disposable. But inside, something has cracked. They don't know what will happen next. Beatrice Whitmore's lavish birthday celebration in Rome was supposed to be the pinnacle of my career and my marriage. But as the morning sun shined golden light across the city, I braced myself for the storm. The night before, I overheard Beatrice on the phone with the restaurant manager, coolly confirming that there were only 12 seats on the table, one less than expected. My son's wife won't stay for dinner, she said. A family matter, she added, dismissing me with the same cruel ending that followed my 5 years of marriage. My hands trembled, but not from fear. The plan they had orchestrated to publicly humiliate me, to gently eliminate me as if I didn't belong there, was about to backfire. I pulled out my phone and opened the event management app I'd built my career on. I have 30 minutes before they start paying attention. That's all I need. By the time they sit under the Roman sky, toasting the matriarch with vintage champagne, the details of their week-long celebration will begin to unravel. Early that morning, I completed my mission perfectly. I arrived early to Aroma, the Michelin-starred rooftop restaurant with breathtaking views of the Colosseum. I checked the flower arrangements, Beatrice's favorite white peonies, and made sure the handwritten cards were perfectly aligned. The 7-course menu, the bespoke cake, the chilled Prosecco, everything went as expected. Enzo, the manager, asked if everything was to my satisfaction. I smiled. Perfect, I replied, because I knew this would be the last event I planned for the Whitmores. Back at the hotel, I wore a dark blue Valentino dress, an item I once bought in the name of love and looks. As I applied my makeup, I stared at my reflection, a tough woman unbroken by years of subtle exclusion, by whispers and smug smiles, and by a husband who never had the courage to stand by her. They gathered in the lobby, dressed to impress, not knowing what I had done. I walked with them in silence, my back straight, my mind calm. When we arrived at the restaurant, everything was ready. Except for my seat, of course. There was no chair for me at the big table. No business cards. There is no acknowledgement. There are only 12 seats. Perfectly planned omission. The looks around the table were exactly what I expected: feigned confusion, half-hearted interest. Whoops, guess we counted wrong. Logan chuckled. I turned to them, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. It seems like I'm not family, I said. Then I walked out. What happened next happened quickly and precisely. I canceled every vendor, reversed every payment, the florist, the caterer, the vineyard tour, the cruise ship. One by one, their lavish trip collapsed. Within 30 minutes, staff informed the Whitmores that the entire dinner would now have to be paid for in advance without my company's guarantee. Shock turned to panic. And Logan? His phone lit up with a series of messages that I ignored. By the time they realized their evening empire was crumbling, I was sitting across the street in a quiet coffee shop, sipping espresso and watching them through the window, poised, calm, free. As we gathered in the hotel lobby, ready to depart for Beatrice Whitmore's lavish birthday dinner, I arrived on time. Everyone was there, wearing designer clothes and fake warmth. Vivian, radiant in vintage Chanel, had diamonds sparkling around her neck, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Jonathan's eyes sparkled when he saw me, perhaps remembering the woman he once claimed to love, or more likely calculating how long it would take him to get rid of her. Sabrina, honey, you look so lovely, Vivian said, brushing her cold lips against my cheek. We're just waiting for the car. The trip to the restaurant was short and filled with empty conversations about tours and tastings I hadn't been invited to. In the elevator to the rooftop, Jonathan gently placed his hand on my back, a touch that had once been affectionate but now felt rehearsed like everything else. The door opened, revealing a terrace that I had personally transformed into an elegant dining area. A view of the Colosseum, glowing under the Roman sky, loomed behind a table for 13. I followed Jonathan as he confidently strode to his seat next to his mother. I stopped where my position should have been, but found nothing. There are no chairs. No business cards. There is no acknowledgement. I stood there dumbfounded, a perfect portrait of someone who realized the script had been written without her. The conversations continued around me, willfully blind. The waiter, who had previously confirmed the seating chart with me, looked away, their eyes looking annoyed. "Is something wrong?" Vivian asked sweetly, her voice just high enough to attract attention. "There seems to be a mistake," I replied, keeping my voice even though I could feel my pulse behind my eyes. "My location settings are missing." And that's when the show started. Eyebrows furrowed. Soft gasps. Jonathan half stood up from his chair, pretending to be confused. "This is strange," his sister Sophie whispered, glancing dramatically at the table. "Did someone count wrongly?" Vivian pressed the napkin to her lips, her eyes wide with worry. Gregory, Jonathan's father, cleared his throat. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding with the staff. Jonathan then delivered his lines. With a small smile that had been practiced, refined and honed for effect, he said, "Whoops. Maybe we counted wrong." The whole table erupted in polite laughter, practiced, restrained, as if in the midst of the cruelest inside joke. And in that moment I saw the whole act for what it was. A perfectly orchestrated dismissal. A public display designed to humiliate me in a seemingly unintentional way. Vivian later told her friends that I had left in anger, and that I couldn't handle the pressure. Jonathan would shrug his shoulders sympathetically. Poor Sabrina, never quite fit into this world. I looked around the table. Vivian smiled brightly, victorious. Gregory looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Sophie and Julian smirked. The couple had the courtesy to appear embarrassed but did not have the courage to say anything. And Jonathan? The man who had sworn to stand next to me watched with the detached interest of a scientist observing a specimen. "Can I request a chair? I can throw their schemes back in their faces." I could have made a scene. But that's exactly what they prepared for. That's the story they're willing to tell about the unstable wife, the poor status. Instead, I took a breath, lifted my chin, and rewrote the ending. I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin, and said the words to regain my strength. "It seems like I'm not family." For simple words, the brutal truth of them. The smug smiles around the table faded. Jonathan's expression changed from amusement to uncertainty. I stepped out of their carefully rehearsed script. "I'll go out on my own," I added calmly, returning to the quiet grace that had carried me through 5 years of trying to belong to a family that never wanted me there. "Sabrina, don't be so dramatic," Jonathan called after me. Another line from their play. "We can fix this." But I don't look back. I walked out of that rooftop restaurant, nodding politely to the staff who had witnessed my humiliation. In the elevator, I finally breathed out. When I reached the cobblestone street below, my hands stopped shaking. Opposite the restaurant is a quiet cafe with perfect views. I ordered an espresso, sat down, and opened the event management app I built my entire career on. This was the moment I had planned, 30 minutes of freedom, while the Whitmores congratulated themselves on getting rid of the unsuitable wife. First, I sent a pre-written email to Enzo, the restaurant manager, setting up the unexpected situation we had discreetly agreed upon a few days before. Attached are the documents, the contract, my authority as the account holder, and confirmation of immediate payment refund. Then I have to work. One by one, I canceled every lavish experience Vivian had promised. Lunch at the Vineyard planned for tomorrow? Gone. Private Vatican tour? Cancelled. Cruise tour of the Amalfi Coast? Reverse. Villa in Tuscany booked for finale weekend? Released. Each cancellation sends the deposit I paid. Use mine business line of credit, back to my account. With each refund I feel more relieved. The burden of pretense, of disrespect has been lifted. Then the text messages from Jonathan began. At first they were upset, then confused, and finally panic. I ignore everything. Exactly 28 minutes after I walked out, I finished my espresso, smoothed the fabric of my dark blue Valentino dress, and headed back across the street, ready for the final act. I entered Aroma through the service entrance, a route I had previously mapped out during my last check. Enzo met me there, his eyes worried. "Miss Whitmore," he said softly, "are you sure? This is unusual." "I'm absolutely sure," I replied. "And I appreciate your discretion." I gave him a sealed envelope containing proof of the reversed payments and the official cancellation of my company's financial guarantee for the event. He nodded solemnly. "When should I notify them?" "In 5 minutes," I said. "I want to observe if you don't mind." He led me to a small alcove located near the kitchen. From there, I had a perfect view of the Whitmore table. Champagne flutes held aloft, faces beaming with complacency as the first course was served. Imported Ostra caviar, Vivian's favorite. It was almost too easy to ruin their perfect evening. The world of luxury hotels is built on trust, reputation, and precise control. As the event organizer, the person who arranges everything, my name and my company hold the key. Not Jonathan's. Not Vivian's. Mine. I watched quietly, the din in the dining room fading into background noise, as Enzo approached their table with 2 other employees in tow. My phone vibrated. Jonathan too. I don't answer. I smiled. The curtain is about to rise, and this time I'm directing the final scene. I reserve the right to make any changes, contracts, deposits, confirmations, all are relevant. My name, not Vivian, not Jonathan. My phone vibrates with a text from Jonathan. "Sabrina, where are you? Stop being a child and come back." Another followed almost immediately. "Mom is sad. You are embarrassing yourself." I ignore them. Instead, I texted Lucia at Villa Borza, the estate set for the finale in Tuscany. Lucia responded quickly, confirming the cancellation and promising that the generous bonus I left for her staff would be refunded to my business account. Many other messages from Jonathan continued to arrive. "The hotel just called. Our reservation was canceled. What are you doing? This is ridiculous. Please call me now. This is not funny, let's fix this." I calmly texted Enzo at the restaurant. "You can continue." From a hidden corner near the kitchen, I watched Enzo and 2 other employees approach the table. He leaned over to talk to Edward, who sat at the opposite end from Vivian. At first, the family continued to eat without even realizing it. But then Edward's expression changed from neutral to confused to deeply alert. He reached for his wallet, speaking quickly, trying to solve the problem. Enzo shook his head and showed him something on the tablet. All eyes turned to each other as the mood began to change. Vivian stopped mid-sentence, her perfect poise changed, one hand flying to the diamond necklace on her throat. Sophie whispered frantically to her husband. Julian pulled out his phone, seemingly checking the booking status. And Jonathan sat motionless. The color drained from his face. I understood immediately. He knew what I had found. He knows what it means for people to know that the Whitmores can't pay their own bills, that the empire is crumbling behind closed doors. My phone rang. Jonathan is calling now. I didn't answer the first time. The second time I picked up the phone. His voice was filled with anger and panic. "Sabrina, what the hell do you think you're doing?" I calmly replied. "It seems that I am not a family member, so I am not responsible for organizing a family celebration party. You need to fix this. Do you know how humiliating this is for my mother, for all of us?" "Oh, I know exactly how humiliating this is. That's the point." His tone changed, desperation seeping through. "We need to talk. I can explain, about Cassandra, about everything." "I'm sure you can," I said coldly. "The thing is, I've seen the financial statements, Jonathan. The wire transfers. The overseas accounts. The liquidation emails. I know the Whitmore empire is on the brink of collapse. And I know you tried to hide it before filing for divorce." His rapid breathing told me I was right. "It's private," he snapped. "Like Cassandra's texts about the baby. Like the script outlining how you publicly announced our amicable divorce at your mother's birthday party. Like the seating chart didn't have a place for me at the table." He was silent. And for the first time in a long time, neither did I, because I didn't need to say another word. I've rewritten the ending. The seating arrangement was well thought out. An invisible chair for the unwanted wife. Silence stretched across the line as Jonathan took in what I had done. While in the restaurant, I watched the manager approach the table, whispering to Edward. Around them, other diners began to pay attention. The public humiliation they had written about me was now happening in reverse. Jonathan's voice returned, no longer arrogant, fragile and pleading. Sabrina, please. You don't understand how this will affect us. I exhaled slowly. I understand very well. That's why I do it. We can work this out. Let's go back to the hotel. We'll talk. Please. I answered firmly. No, Jonathan. I don't think we can work this out. I hung up and stepped into the soft light of the restaurant. 12 heads turned towards me. Some angry, others stunned, but all caught off guard. Vivian took the lead, her voice shaking with indignation. How dare you ruin my birthday? I smiled calmly and resolutely. I've learned from the best, Vivian. This is exactly what you planned for me. A public humiliation, a staged escape. The only difference is I rewrote the ending. Edward stood up, blushing. This is too much. You have no right. I met his eyes without flinching. Every contract, every booking, every fee is in my name or my company's name. I have every right to cancel it. Sophie, sneering from her seat, snapped. You'll regret this when Jonathan divorces you. You'll get nothing. I turned to Jonathan, looking straight into his eyes. That's where you're wrong. I have copies of everything: offshore accounts, hidden assets, fraudulent wire transfers. I'm sure the IRS will figure it all out. In the clear. Their faces pale as the weight of the consequences hits. And in that moment I didn't feel satisfied, I just felt liberated. I turned around and walked out, free of the web they had tried to suffocate me for years. The next morning I left Italy, flying first class to Boston with the points I earned to plan the vacations that defined Whitmore. The irony didn't occur to me. Back in Rome, chaos erupted. Through the hotel concierge, I learned that the Whitmore family used Vivian's vintage Bulgari bracelet as collateral just to pay the dinner bill. News of their financial rift spread through the hotel network like wildfire. Suppliers started asking for payment in advance. My phone lit up with messages, some angry, some desperate. I read them in the quiet of the American Skies lounge in London, sipping Earl Grey. Edward, this can be done. Our lawyer will be in touch. Sophie, you have made the biggest mistake of your life. Julian, do you really think you can humiliate our family without consequences? But it was Jonathan's wave of messages that revealed the truth behind their pristine exterior. You don't know what you did. My father has a mild heart condition. Is that what you want? The Kingsleys and Whitmores have seen everything. Do you know what this means for us? Afterward, the hotel only requires full prepayment. All warranties are void. And finally, please, Sabrina, I need to talk. Now it's more than us. I don't answer. I simply forwarded all documents to my lawyer, with instructions to keep it until needed. If they want war, I will be ready. When I landed in Boston and arrived at what was once our Beacon Hill brownstone, I felt nothing but clarity. I was finally done, irrevocably. When I returned to our Beacon Hill brownstone, I didn't linger. I hired a moving company and took only what was definitely mine: clothes, jewelry I'd bought, a collection of first edition books, and art I had before I got married. I leave behind wedding gifts, designer furniture, and anything that bears the Whitmore family's fingerprints. I wanted nothing that would tie me to their carefully managed illusion. 2 days later, Boston Globe posts a short snippet in the social section. Investment group faces investigation. It was just a few lines, but its implications sent shockwaves through Boston's upper class. A week after I returned from Rome, Jonathan showed up at my new apartment, unannounced and clearly in the clear. The man who once embodied privilege and civility now looked exhausted with panic. You need to go home, he said, and walked inside without waiting for an invitation. This has gone far enough. I didn't flinch. This is not a negotiating tactic, Jonathan. This is divorce. He ran his hand through his messy hair, his composure gradually disappearing. The SEC is looking into my father's accounts. 2 board members have resigned. My mother had to cancel her gala, 3 sponsors pulled out. I shrugged. Sounds like a Whitmore family problem. His tone became harsh. That's also my problem. We're still husband and wife. My debt is also your debt. I gave a measured smile. Not when I have proof that you intentionally excluded me from financial decisions and hid assets to defraud me during the divorce proceedings. My lawyer assured me that I was protected. His courage collapsed. Jonathan plopped down on my couch, burying his face in his hands. I never wanted it to turn out like this, he muttered. Actually, I asked, sitting across from him, do you want me to be your full-time social secretary while you play house with Cassandra behind my back? He looked up, guilt etched into every line of his face. It wasn't like that at first. I fell in love with you, but not enough to protect me, not enough to tell me the truth. Silence stretched between us. Then I asked, when will the baby be born? His eyes opened wide. How did you? For months, according to the text from her. A heavy silence prevailed. Outside, the rain fell steadily against the window of my apartment, a place smaller than a brownstone, but entirely mine, bought with the income one had earned rather than borrowed from a fading family line. I'll give you anything you want, Jonathan said at last. Just deliver the documents. Sign the NDA. State your price. That's when it dawned on me. Even now they still don't understand me. After 5 years, Jonathan and his family still thought they could buy me. I don't want your money, I said. I want my freedom. I want the truth to be acknowledged. I stood up, signaling that our conversation was over. The documents stay with my lawyer unless you try to drag me down. The terms of the divorce are simple. I leave with what's mine. You with yours. And Cassandra? The baby? That's between you and your conscience. I hope you'll be a better husband to her than you were to me. After he left, I stood by the window and watched the rain fall heavier, feeling more at peace than I had in years. Over the next few weeks, the fallout escalated. The Sphere presented more details about the shady transactions of Whitmore Investment Group. Customers quietly withdrew. Vivian lost her place on 3 prominent charity boards. Cassandra's pregnancy became public when she was spotted at the OBGYN with a diamond engagement ring. Their world is collapsing, and I was finally free. When Cassandra was spotted leaving a Boston obstetrics clinic with a diamond engagement ring, the timeline left no doubt. Their affair had resumed long before my marriage ended. In Boston's high society, infidelity could be quietly overlooked if kept private, but what about this? This transcends all unwritten boundaries. Ironically, while their reputations were shaken, mine flourished. Customers who once whispered behind my back now respected my professionalism and charm. The story has changed. I am no longer the abandoned wife but a woman who stood her ground and walked with dignity. 6 months later, I received an email that made me laugh. An invitation to bid on Beatrice Whitmore's next charity gala. Apparently, desperation eventually overcame pride. I politely declined, fully booked for the year. The divorce was finalized without fireworks. The Whitmore family, too busy with damage control, accepted my terms without argument. Jonathan and Cassandra got married quietly. Their daughter was born 2 weeks later. I didn't send a gift. Exactly 1 year after that dinner in Rome, I returned to Italy, this time on my own terms, planning a celebrity wedding on the Amalfi Coast. Standing on the sunlit terrace overlooking the Mediterranean, phone in hand, salesman following orders, I realized something quietly profound. I was happy. Not because of my broken marriage but because of it. The Whitmore family tried to downplay me, reducing me to a footnote in their legacy. But in doing so, they unintentionally gave me the pen to write my own story. I raised my glass to the setting sun and toasted the missing chair, because it was that empty chair that finally showed me exactly where I belonged. Sometimes the missing chair is the invitation for you to stand up. Sabrina's story reminds us that silence in the face of humiliation is not weakness. It is the space where strength takes root. Too often, women shrink to fit into roles that were never meant to honor their worth. But when betrayal comes, so can clarity. Sabrina didn't just walk. She walked go inside a life built on her terms, fueled by dignity, courage, and self-respect. If you've ever been made to feel small or invisible, know this. You don't need anyone's permission to take your power back. You're not just a guest at the dinner table. You can build your own. If this story is meaningful to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us amplify real stories of strength, resilience, and innovation for women who refuse to be left out of their own lives.